So I am thrilled to be here, and Kadesh, it's so great to see you. Thanks for pronouncing my name correctly, because a lot of people are afraid to do that. And so I am going to share about what I believe is the value of Steelpan in music therapy. And it's a hard thing to decide exactly what I should talk about, because I don't know what the audience is when I am talking to Pan people, because I'm not sure how many of you are students and how many of you are teachers, how many of you already know what music therapy is. So I'm going to not make any assumptions, and I'm going to talk about music therapy first, and I will try to make it clear the difference between music therapy and music education, and then I'll try to make it clear why Pan is such a wonderful, amazing instrument for music therapy. So first of all, because rhythm is inside of us, as our breathing and our heartbeat, music in and of itself is a very powerful tool for facilitating transformational changes in people. And that's kind of what music therapy is about. And so in terms of why am I the one talking about it? Why is it me, somebody from Michigan? Well, Steelpan has become more than a love, it's an obsession for me. And those of you who know me, I'm sure there's a few people who know me. These are a couple of things about me, how I got myself involved in Steelpan in Trinidad. I did not learn at a university or high school band in the United States. I took my first trip to Trinidad with a group of teachers, and we were studying the cultural arts. We had 1 day out of 2 weeks on Pan, and that was the summer of 1993. I bought my first used tenor, really with the main purpose of using it in music therapy, because as soon as I got a chance to play on it, I understood exactly what I wanted it for. I work with teenagers, and it's a great way to have nonverbal communication. Music and rhythm are great ways to communicate thoughts and feelings without having to think of the words for them. I first played Pan in TNT, which I really didn't expect to happen, but as soon as I started playing Pan, I was like, this is really cool. I want to learn how to play this better. So I had my first chance to play a little less than 2 years later at Pan on the Move in Point Fortin, Borough Day. And since then, I have played for 22 carnival seasons. I've missed a few when I was in graduate school, and obviously 2021, and I did miss 2022. Although I was just in Trinidad and just got back, I was not there for this season. I started doing workshops and then started teaching a course at UWI. I started that in 2003. And so I've been involved with Department of Creative Arts and Festival Arts there. And so I teach a course about music therapy. There are other things that I do in Trinidad, but I'm not going to focus on those for now. I'm going to move right on into what music therapy is. And this is the definition that comes from the American Music Therapy Association. There are other definitions, and the World Federation for Music Therapy has a great definition, but I'm just going with this one because it's really pointing out the scientific end of music therapy. It's not just a lot of music to feel good. There's a lot of evidence-based practice and research that proves that the music interventions actually do work and make changes for people. And the other piece of this is that it's a credentialed professional, not somebody who just would like to do music therapy, but somebody who's gone through a approved program, and there are approved programs all over the world, but unfortunately there are none in the Caribbean at this point. Hopefully that will change. I've been saying that for a long time though. So hopefully that will change. So
excuse me, before you continue, is your PowerPoint moving with us, or are you just giving a preface of your presentation?
I'm sorry, are you not seeing my PowerPoint?
We're just seeing your first page with the value of Steelpan in music therapy. It's not moving.
Oh, let me stop the share and start again and see if that helps, because yes, it's moving for me. Are you seeing what is music therapy now?
Yes, you see.
Okay, hopefully that will help. So this is actually the old definition of music therapy, which I prefer to the one that I just had up on the screen, which you didn't see, but you heard me talk about. This is the old definition and they changed it, and things change in America for all different reasons, but I prefer this one because it's a little more user-friendly. It's the prescribed use of music by a qualified person to affect positive changes in the functioning of individuals with health or educational problems. It is also where the music is used in a therapeutic relationship to address physical, psychological, cognitive, and social needs. So as a music therapist, I'm not focusing on some of the same things that you would focus on as a music educator. Although I fully believe in music education, and I would not be the musician I am if I didn't have the opportunity to have great music educators in charge of my work as a student. So there are a lot of people who can benefit from music therapy, and I have this list, which is not a full list, but what I want you to see by looking down that list is these are people that we often don't think about. They're kind of marginalized in society or forgotten or silenced or hidden. And so these people are often not given a voice within the society, and that's changing, and we hope it is. And we hope that people will start to see that these people are living with differences, but they are not different. They are still human beings. So there are a couple of things I want to share that are not music therapy. I'm not going to talk about this very long, but I'll just let them go up one at a time. There are a lot of things that people think are music therapy, but these can be done by anybody. They don't have to be done by a trained person. So I'm hoping you're still seeing my screen. Can somebody, Kadesh, please let me know that the people are actually seeing these because I'm not reading them?
Yes, we all see it.
All right, excellent, thank you. So now I'll move on to what goals and objectives are like in terms of music therapy. And so that's different from what the goals and objectives would be in education. So of course, we want them to be realistic and attainable. We want them to be observable and measurable, and they're going to pertain to the current treatment issues of whoever the patients or clients are you're working with. The goals are the overall reason for music therapy, and the objectives are the small steps to get there. And they're different because they're focusing on different things. I already mentioned that, but now here's a list of different types of goals, and this is definitely not a full list. There are so many different things music therapists can work on, but the appropriate social interaction or peer interaction, confidence and self-esteem, working on these kinds of things, and we're setting objectives that are measurable so we can tell whether it's actually working or not. We can evaluate that. Respect for authority, because of course I said I work with teenagers, working with academic skills with all different populations. And so I want you to think about some things in terms of Steelpan and music therapy now. So formal training for pan players that are interested in becoming music therapists is actually quite difficult for them if that's their major instrument, because it's not considered a major instrument at a lot of the institutions that would have approved programs for licensing or registration for music therapy. And that's why it's so important that eventually there is a program for people to attend in the Caribbean so that Pan is given the respect it deserves in that case. Berkeley is one of the schools where you can major on Pan and music therapy, and also have your major in music therapy, but there are not really too many other schools that I know of. I could be wrong, but I have not been told of others. The continuity of clinical practice with using Steelpan is important. So music therapists who are doing it should be getting together and talking about most effective and best practices. And those who have been using or want to use should have a unity of vision. And it should be in TNT, but also abroad, like how Steelpan can and should be used. It's such a really important instrument in terms of what it can do. And I will talk about that in just a minute. The models of music therapy that different people learn and We as music therapists, just like teachers, we vary and we have different ways of doing things. And so being able to come together and respect each other's ways of using Pan. There are also some key cultural things that we would need to consider and think about as we're trying to consider using Pan. It's an artistically rich culture. I haven't been to many of the other Caribbean islands, but my guess is that they have similar rich cultures artistically. But here in Trinidad is, I say here because I just got back to Michigan, but in Trinidad, it's such a great thing to think about being able to use an instrument that is accessible and more easily accessible than some realize, and that can have part of healing the nation, and meaning those people who are marginalized and need the healing. All ages are welcome to participate. That has been one of the most amazing things to me ever since I started coming to Trinidad and spending time in the Pan Yard and playing in a band, that everybody's welcome. And so it naturally brings all the generations together. And that can be such a positive thing for young people to learn from older people and older people to stay young by being around younger people. Also, the response to rhythms and sounds are so immediate, which is a really important piece of how music that you choose as a therapist or instruments that you choose as a therapist is you're looking at being able to get responses from your clients, and Pan actually can do that. So whether that's Pan music like recordings, or whether that's live Pan, or whether that's them recreating music by playing Pan, but the music itself also promotes that movement and participation in the playing or singing of what's going on. And so those are really important parts of Trinidadian culture and possibly Caribbean culture. And so when I say Pan is super, super valuable, I can't talk enough about it. I could probably talk 15 minutes about just that, but then that's not really talking about music therapy. So please feel free to ask questions to have me elaborate on that. But the fact is that the instrument itself will sing to you. The first time you touch a Pan, the first time you hit a stick to a note or try 3 or 4 notes, it's giving you a song and it's singing for you, and it's doing things that the vibrations are actually doing something to you physically. And so some people know that just by playing Pan. You stick your head down in your Pan, you stick your belly to your Pan, you're moving and trying to be with your Pan. And some of you maybe have not experienced that, but that's part of why it is such a great instrument. I don't know very many people who do that with their piano or their guitar, or some of the other instruments. So it has a different thing that it offers in that sense. So the flexibility, the nature of the instrument, the appeal of the instrument, the unique characteristics that I was just talking about, and the overall beauty. Those of us who are Pan lovers know that it's a beautiful instrument, but there are a lot of other people who know that also. And if you live in Trinidad and spend most of your time in Trinidad, you might not realize how important these things are on the outside. Like I try to explain to my students all the time about how critical it is that you realize how valuable Pan is and how beautiful Pan is. It has a musical voice that anyone who plays it gives you that voice. And I'm a non-singer, so I feel like I'm singing when I'm playing Pan, and it just makes me feel so much more wonderful as a musician instead of just playing an instrument. Like it's singing for me too. And it can touch the soul of someone who's hurting, anxious, disturbed, lonely, any of those kinds of things. Pan really can touch people in such a deep way. And it has the power to effectively build and bind communities in a positive manner, which we just heard about from the other presenter in terms of the junior panorama and how important that can be. So I think, this is my view, all of the special education schools in TNT should have usable steel pans, not just a select few. There are more than when I started moving around into the different special education schools, but there's still not enough. They should all have access to Pan. And I think that, I'm not sure who in the ministry can make that happen, but I know there is somebody. I also believe that all the hospitals, clinics, and nursing homes should have a pan playing music therapist on call that they can bring in, especially if they've got an elderly person who was a pan player. And that high quality recordings of specific pan music should be available to music therapists. I see I'm going over time, so I'm going to go a little faster. Globally, music therapists serve a wide range of people so that it's important and there's a future for pan. And to increase that number of music therapists who could use Steelpan, and all the aspects of Steelpan can be therapeutic. They really can. And the community Steelpan programs can integrate therapy principles and practices. And this is my final screen. And I made the mistake at my last conference that I used this of not reading it. And several people told me I should have read it instead of just letting people read it themselves. The therapeutic value of Pan as an instrument is melodic, harmonic, and percussive, all in one. And it's immeasurable. The pan speaks to the very heart of people in a special way because it vibrates and produces tones that are comparable with the human voice. I haven't played another instrument that can sing for me. So as a non-vocalist, it adds a new dimension to my capabilities as a musician. So if this is true for me, how much more valid it must be for those who've never had a voice in so-called modern society. Thank you.